Thank you as ever for all your comments. And Eileen Clark says, your pantomime expertise is in evidence here. Thank you very much. I didn't do panto this year, which is a bit of a shame. But Liz Truss, Eileen goes on to say, Liz Truss sadly seems both vulnerable and dangerous all at the same time. And that's an important principle. And it's a principle that I think is best expressed by this man here, Ray Harryhausen, and I've got a number of books about him. There's this. If you haven't seen Ray Harryhausen's films, then you're missing out on a great treat. And Harryhausen's principle of vulnerability for dying monsters stems from his belief that audiences must empathize with creatures even when they are the antagonists. And he viewed monsters as tragic figures, victims of circumstance beyond their own control, and emphasized giving them a sense of pain and a struggle in their deaths. Harryhausen drew heavily from Willis O'Brien's President, particularly in King Kong in 1933, where Kong's death set a gold standard for monster vulnerability. So if you go back to Willis O'Brien, the final moments when Kong is clinging to the top of the Empire State Building show his vulnerability as he clutches at his wounds, struggles to maintain his grip. Of course, the dreadful 1977, I think it was 1977 version, which the remake, and then actually the not terribly impressive remake in 3D by the fellow who did Lord of the Rings and stuff. The camera lingers on this original film on King Kong's lifeless body, underscoring the tragedy of his misunderstood nature. And O'Brien humanizes Kong with expressive gestures, clutching his chest, looking mournfully at Fay Ray, and even showing fear as he falls. And Harryhausen remarked on the scene, he said, you couldn't just let a monster die without emotion. It had to be a performance. Kong wasn't just a beast, he was a character with a soul. And Harryhausen takes that up in the rhedosaurus, the beast from 20,000 Fathoms in 1953. You've got this monster rampaging through New York, and the monster dies dramatically in Coney Island, and there's a burning roller coaster that collapses around it as it writhes in agony, whimpering like a wounded animal. And Harryhausen's animation emphasizes the creature's slow, labored movement and final collapse, making it a tragic figure rather than merely a menace. He said, even monsters need a moment of dignity in their death. It makes the audience feel they've witnessed something more than destruction. They've seen the end of a living thing. Talos, this huge bronze statue that crumbles after Jason removes the plug at his heel and releases the ichor, this divine blood, because gods don't have blood in their veins. And Talos grasps its throat in slow, exaggerated motions, conveying convulsion and pain before collapsing into ruin. And the animation captures Talos as more than just a mechanical giant. It's as though his life is being drained away. It's as though a living being is losing that life force. And Harryhausen said, Talos was a machine, but I animated him as if he were a living thing with a sense of mortality. His struggle made him more relatable. The Cyclops is probably my favourite Harryhausen monster, meets its end when it's tricked into falling into a fiery chasm, and as it loses balance it flails desperately and clutches at the ground before tumbling into the abyss, letting out a final wail. It's about animal instincts, primal fear, turning a seemingly monstrous figure into something pitiable. The Cyclops was a brute, but his death wasn't just about defeating an enemy. You had to believe it was alive and afraid as it fell. And then there's the Medusa in The Clash of the Titans. Not an altogether excellent film, but the animation is superb. And after Perseus decapitates her, her severing head continues to writhe, her body spasming as the last vestiges of life drain away. Even in death, Medusa retains a sense of tragic beauty, with Harryhausen's intricate detailing of her serpentine movements, lending her a haunting vulnerability. Medusa was horrifying, but I wanted her death to have a strange grace, and her movements slow as if she knows her time has come. And it's his monsters shared a common thread. their deaths evoke spectacle and sympathy. He said audiences needed to contact with these creatures as characters, not just threats. Death scenes were a chance to remind them that these monsters had a kind of soul. And in the same way, when you go out to the lettuce patch and you pluck a lettuce, you cut off a lettuce, that lettuce has a sort of soul, at least in Aristotelian sense. It has a vegetable soul, and one should feel. I think when one sees a lettuce in the last desperate attempts to cling on to life, one should pity it before, as it said in Guys and Dolls, tossing the salad dressing. And from that point of view, Liz Truss demands both pity and derision in almost equal measure. And as you know, those of you who have seen your mortgages go up because of her stupidity, she should accept her responsibility for the damage that she did. If that's not quite the technical definition of crashing the economy, she certainly crashed our lives, and we had a collision with disaster which was of her making.